It's time for Dodger Baseball. Live from Dodger Stadium, Sportsnet LA presents the Dodgers as they take on the Colorado Rockies. Hi, everybody, and a very pleasant Sunday to you, wherever you may be. Dodgers and Rockies wrapping up a three-game series. They've each won one. In the standings, it's reflected. The Giants are in first place. Dodgers trail by a half a game, and the Rockies, by losing last night, trail by a game and a half. As far as the pitching is concerned, the Dodgers go with Hyun-Jin Ryu. He is 3-1 this year, 1-1 in his brief career against Colorado. On the mound for the Rockies is Jorge De La Rosa. When you first look at his record, you say, oh, wow. He is 2-8 lifetime against the Dodgers. However, at one time, he was 0-7, and the two victories are the last two times that he faced them. Another note about De La Rosa. Last year, in pitching in the daytime, 7 wins and no losses, and an earned run average under 2. So it's Ryu and De La Rosa. After this game, the Rockies will go over to Arizona, and the Dodgers leave tomorrow to go on a tough road trip. Minnesota, where the weather is very questionable. Then to Miami, finish in Washington, and when they come home, they will open up with a 4-game series with the Giants. So right now, those are the pregame notes. Sit back, relax. We'll bring up a ball game and a whole lot more coming up right after this.
Concerns around the Dodger club, though, right now are Hanley Ramirez. He had to leave the game yesterday in the third inning. The Dodgers have made a player move. They brought up Carlos Trienfeld to play shortstop, second base, or third base. He'll be in the utility role, but the concerns about Hanley's thumb, in talking to him, he could play today, but it's a scheduled off day, so he's going to rest that thumb. He'll probably be ready when we get to Minnesota on Tuesday, and who knows how long Trienfeld will be with us, because Sean Figgins will be down in the minors for 10 days as of tomorrow, so he will be available for a roster move. I would expect the Dodgers to look to make another move after the road trip starts in Minnesota. In other news, on the mound today, Hyun-Jin Ryu, our Korean phenom who has been outstanding. And if you think about the transition of Ryu from Korea to the U.S. in Major League Baseball, you think about a guy who had to go from pitching once a week to pitching every fifth day. And that was a concern when he first got here, but have no fear. He's on regular rest today, and his lowest ERA is 2.48 when he's on 4 days rest. When he has 5 or 6, it's about a point higher. So he has enjoyed the MLB and the rhythm of the Major League Baseball season. Ryu has been fantastic, and hopefully he can get 10,000 wins for this franchise today. In just a moment, we'll be back, and the great Vin Scully will have the call.
Welcome to Dodger Stadium, final game of the three-game series with the Rockies. Last game of a homestand that has seen the Dodgers entertain Arizona, Philadelphia, and closing down with the Rockies. Dodgers go out on the road tomorrow, head for Minnesota, Miami, and Washington. Come home then for a four-game collision with the San Francisco Giants. That starts on Thursday, May 8th. And after the 11th Sunday game with the Giants, there's three more with Miami before going back out on the road. For the Dodgers, trying to win the 10,000th game in the history of the organization by winning last night, they now have 9,999 wins. We'll take a look at the lineups. First of all, for the Rockies, Charlie Blackmon came in here leading the league at .411. He's now hitting .398. Brandon Barnes in right field, Carlos Gonzalez in left, Troy Tulowitzki plays shortstop and hits cleanup, Justin Morneau at first base, Nolan Arenado, who is not only a big man with a glove, he was the first rookie at third base to win a Gold Glove, but he also has a hot bat. He has a 16-game hitting streak. Josh Rutledge playing second base. Jordan Pacheco gives Willen Rosario a day off behind the plate. Jorge De La Rosa on the mound. On the mound for the Dodgers, Hyun-Jin Ryu. He is 3-1, 1-1 against the Rockies last year, and he has held the opposition to a .214 batting average going into this game, and he brings an earned run average of 2.1. So here come the Rockies. Blackmon, Barnes, and Gonzalez. Hyun-Jin's first pitch down and away. Ball 1, 1-0. Charlie Blackmon hitting .398, 5 home runs. All 5 home runs hit at home. 1-0 pitch on the way in there. 1-1. Blackmon has stolen 7 out of 9. He has an RBI average about every 5 at-bats, fouls the pitch away, and the count 1-2. Lovely afternoon, somewhat overcast, so that takes the sting out of the sun, so the folks in the seats can really enjoy the day. And the temperature a very nice 69 degrees. Where the Dodgers are heading, it's not so nice. Temperatures in the low 40s and rain in Minnesota. Next pitch fouled away, and the count 1-2. And remember, they do not have a roof in Minnesota. So it's going to be a questionable series. Will they get all 3 games in? Will they lose one and have to have a doubleheader? So it's going to be a tough way to start the road trip. Meanwhile, 1 ball and 2 strikes the count to Charlie Blackmon. Ryu rocks, doesn't have much of a windup, comes to the plate, and the pitch is lifted into shallow center, and it will drop in front of Matt Kemp for a base hit. So Charlie Blackmon, a threat on the base paths, also a threat at the plate, and leads off with a single. We'll take a look at the Dodgers with the leather, and they shape up this way. Van Slyke, Kemp, and Puig, right-hand hitting outfield. The infield of Uribe and Turner, Gordon and Gonzalez. Behind the plate, Tim Federovich handling Hyun-Jin Ryu. The report on Hanley Ramirez, he suffered a bruise. He was jammed last night. He says he feels better. He did do some hitting in BP, throw to first not in time. Hanley would like to play. Naturally, the Dodgers would rather err on the side of conservatism, so if they can get away with it, it would mean that Hanley would rest today. They're off tomorrow, and he wouldn't have to play until Tuesday night. By that time, that should take the sting out of the hand. So Blackmon at first, as we said, has stolen 7 out of 9. So Ryu's going to really watch him, held on by Adrian Gonzalez. And the batter, Brandon Barnes. Barnes, local boy from Orange, led off last night, 1 for 3 with a walk, shows bunt, runs up, and then runs underneath a high pitch. 1 ball and no strikes. Barnes also made an appearance in the first game as a pinch hitter, a very important pinch hit. He doubled leading off the 11th inning, eventually scored, and the Rockies won the game 5-4. So Brandon Barnes with Carlos Gonzalez on deck. Uribe playing in on the grass at third, and a throw to first. Diving back to the bag easily is Charlie Blackmon. Dodgers sent Jose Dominguez back down to Albuquerque. They brought up a young shortstop, Carlos Triunfo. Triunfo originally signed by Seattle when he was about 16 years old. So he's taken in the ball game, leaning on the railing. The pitch swung on and missed by Barnes, and the count 1 ball and 1 strike. Good off-speed pitch. So Barnes backs out, takes a look down to Stu Cole. Coaching at first, old friend Eric Young. The Ryu class sitting shoulder to shoulder in the stands. The pitch of the plate is low, and the count runs 2-1. Hyun-Jin Ryu, in his 36 career starts, has allowed only 2 stolen bases. In fact, only 4 have attempted to steal. 2 made it, 2 were caught. So we'll see about Blackmon. 2-1 pitch on the way, high and away, ball 3, 3-1. Brandon Barnes, he'll be 28 the middle of May, went to Cypress Junior College. Interesting, he was a football player. And he just asked the Cypress baseball coach, can I try out? Not only did he try out as a freshman, he was an All-American. 3-1 pitch to Brandon. Swung on. Hopper to the hole by the diving Turner into left field. Stopping at second is Charlie Blackmon. And the Rockies are in business. Back-to-back singles opening up the ball game. And Carlos Gonzalez coming up. The Rockies have always been two totally different teams. Right now they have 2 on and nobody out. Blackmon single to center, Barnes to left, Gonzalez, Tulowitzki, and Morneau, 3 very accomplished hitters checking in. But normally the Rockies do all their business at home. They're 8-4 at home. On the road right now they're 5-8. So 2 on, nobody out. Here's Cargo, as they call him. He looks at a hook on the outside corner for a strike. No balls and 1 strike. Last night, the Dodgers were very, very generous. They gave the Rockies 5 walks in 1 inning plus. With the bases loaded in the 8th inning last night, Gonzalez struck out and went 1 for 4 in the evening. Foul ball off third that will find its way back into the seats, and they count no balls and 2 strikes. Not only did Gonzalez strike out with the bases loaded against Chris Withrow in the 8th inning, Tulowitzki came up and struck out. That was really something. You're not going to see that very often at all. So Carlos Gonzalez, marvelous player. 28 years old. He'll be 29 the middle of October. Strike 2 pitch on the way. Swung on. High fly ball to left. Very playable. Van Slyke comes up to make the catch, and the runners hold. So a big out, 1 down, and now Troy Tulowitzki, another wonderful player, and hitting .360. Troy with 5 home runs, 17 runs batted in. So Gonzalez can't do anything, but let's see about Tulo. Tulowitzki walks a lot because the league treats him with great respect. They know the damage he can do with his bat. For Carlos Gonzalez back in the dugout, a fine a hitter as he is, he's in a terrific slump. Ryu delivers, and the first one in for a strike, and the count 0-1. Tulowitzki walks about 18% of his at-bats. Put that another way, he's walked 17 times. He also averages an RBI once every little more than 4 at-bats. He's second in the league with that. Now the next pitch to Tulo, that's a strike. So he's up there in the count 0-2. The plate umpire today has made his major league debut in this series, starting at second base. Stu Sherwater, he's from Regina, Saskatchewan in Canada, 30 years old. Because it is his major league debut, his wife came down from Canada, and she's been here watching him move along, second, first, and today behind the plate. Strike 2 pitch. Tulo gets away the pitch inside, and the runners hold. 1 ball and 2 strikes to Troy Tulowitzki. So Ryu struggling a little bit, making a bunch of pitches, 16 so far, and facing a very tough hitter. Tulowitzki, coming into the game, has piled up a total 27 hits. So that moves him up a notch. Ryu ready, another look at the runners, and then turns off the rubber. If you're joining us a little late, Charlie Blackmon single to center, Barnes ground ball single to left, Gonzalez fly ball to shallow left, and now here's Tulo with Justin Morneau on deck, a left-hand batter. The 1-2 pitch to Tulowitzki is waved at and missed. That was low, down, and out of the zone. Otherwise, it was a great pitch. So Tulowitzki chasing one. Very slow, very low, and off the plate. A dangerous catch by Fedorovich. He turns the mitt, but he holds on to it. So with 2 down, the batter now is Justin Morneau. Morneau came into this series with 17 runs batted in. Justin, 5 home runs, left-hand hitter, takes a strike, and the count 0-1. So you talk about the Rockies, Ryu trying to climb 3 of them, Carlos Gonzalez, Troy Tulowitzki, and now Justin Morneau. 2 on, 2 out, no score. The pitch to Justin is hammered foul, a pitch up and in. Boy, did he jump on that thing. Justin Morneau is from British Columbia, New Westminster, Canada. Lives in St. Paul. Of course, he had a magnificent career with the Twins. He was the American League MVP in 2006. Strike 2 pitch off the plate, and not by much. Justin had 130 RBIs in that MVP league. The pitch just ran away, tried to be framed by the catcher, Fedorovich, but the rookie umpire wouldn't go for it. 1-2 the count. Ryu, another look at the runners. Back he comes. Breaking ball, check swing, foul. That was kind of like the pitch that struck out Tulowitzki. Though Morneau got a little bit of it. Down in the dugout, Tulowitzki thinking what might have been and what happened. 2 out, 2 on, 1-2 the count to Justin Morneau. He'll be 33 the middle of May. And the 1-2 pitch of the left-hand batter, high and away, ball 2. 2-2 the count. 3 Minnesota Twins had won the MVP award before Morneau did. Zoilo Versalles in 1965, Rod Carew 1967, Harmon Killebrew 1969, and then Morneau in 2006. Ryu delivers a little pop fly at the mound, and Ryu will make the catch for the out. So fine pitching performance by Hyun-Jin. 2 hits, and then he gets the trio, Gonzalez, Tulowitzki, and Morneau, and he walks off the first inning, no score. Tulowitzki and struck him out. 0-2 and Morneau, and got him on a little pop fly. So let's take a look at the lineup coming up for the Dodgers now. And it'll be Dee Gordon leading off at second base. Yasiel Puig in right, and Matt Kemp, who's had big days and nights against De La Rosa. He'll be hitting third. Adrian Gonzalez clean up at first. Juan Uribe at third. Scott Van Slyke in left. Justin Turner at short for Hanley Ramirez. Tim Fedorovich and Hyun-Jin Ryu. On the mound for the Colorado Rockies, Jorge De La Rosa, born in Monterrey, Mexico, lives in San Nicolas, Mexico, and originally signed by the Arizona Diamondbacks out of the Mexican League way back in 1998. He is 33 years old, 6'1", 215 pounds, and he had Tommy John surgery way back in 2011. It will be interesting to watch him pitch. We can go right through the lineup with him. His first 15 pitches, he's dynamite. Batting average against him, .071. 16 to 30 pitches, it comes up to .214. 31 to 45, .231. And after 45 pitches, he's been in a lot of trouble. He is 2-8 against the Dodgers, and the left-hander ready and delivers, and the fastball is low, ball one. The return from the catcher Pacheco gets away, though we have a moment to continue. After 46 pitches, De La Rosa, the opposition, hitting .333. After 61 pitches, .583. The 1-0 pitch, a bunt. Down to get it is De La Rosa. Turns, throws, too late. And D. Gordon has a bunt single. So Gordon in the lineup, and boy, that is really the better than the good housekeeping seal of approval. They're letting him start against a left-hander, and he immediately makes the left-hander pay with a good bunt single. So Gordon at first, nobody out. Puig, Kemp, and Gonzalez coming up. So De La Rosa, with a lifetime of 2-8, at one stage he was 0-7 against the Dodgers, but those two victories, they came the last two times that he pitched against the Dodgers. And remember that number, the fact that in the daytime he is 7-0, and the earned run average is down there with it, and the batting average against him 193. A bunt by Puig. Charging it at third is Arenado. Throws to first in time to get him, and Arenado, a Gold Glove third baseman, made a wonderful play. Boy, that was a good bunt by Puig. He laid it down perfectly, and only a good third baseman could possibly have gotten it. I mean, he dumped it. Arenado had to bare hand throw off balance and able to nip Puig at first base. Wonderful play by young Arenado. Nolan's shown us why he's a Gold Glover. Big play. So Puig is out. Advancing to second is Gordon. They'll give Puig a sacrifice, although you know he was bunting for a base hit. And the batter now, Matt Kemp, who has worn out De La Rosa in the past. So we'll see about the present. Matt Kemp, 3 home runs and a .423 batting average. De La Rosa's fastball low and in at the ankles. 1 ball and no strikes. So the Rockies had 2 on with nobody out, and they went in order. Gonzalez, Tulowitzki, and Morneau. Now you have Gordon, a base hit, sacrificed by Puig, and Kemp and Gonzalez trying to pick him up. The 1-0 pitch on the way to Matt, and that's low and inside at his right foot. And they count 2 balls and no strikes. Kemp is 11 for 26 with 3 home runs against Jorge De La Rosa. So Matt back up and waiting. Matt hitting him the number 3 slot, and up to now, De La Rosa has done very well against that number 3 hitter. They're averaging just 200 against him. 2-0 pitch instead, a fake, charging the bag Josh Rutledge to handle a throw. Gordon back on the bag. Of course, with Kemp up there, that takes Tulowitzki out of any pickoff play, so it's up to Rutledge to try to take a step away. Meanwhile, with Gordon, of course, Arenado knows he could come down and steal third. The 2-0 pitch on the way. De La Rosa, and again off the rubber. So Gordon is certainly upsetting De La Rosa with the thought he might try to steal third. He's done it, as you know, and he has stolen 12 out of 13. Gordon takes his lead. 2 balls, no strikes. Matt Kemp waiting. De La Rosa, the left-hander, looks, comes to the hitter, golfed at and missed. So Matt trying to lift that thing, and they count 2 balls and 1 strike. No score, bottom of the first inning. Big crowd on hand. We have over 10,000 little leaguers here, and that's wonderful. Two and one. Kemp waiting. De La Rosa high set and off the rubber again. De La Rosa, who might be 2-8 against the Dodgers, but he's been very successful against the rest of the National League West. He is 24-13 against the West. His career, as usual, better at home than on the road, as most Rockies are, no matter the position. Too much time, Kemp backs out. De La Rosa at home, 35 wins, 20 losses. On the road, 21 wins, 33 losses. Left-hander battling a nemesis in Matt Kemp. And his 2-1. There goes Gordon. The pitch is low. The throw is not in time to get him. Had to wait. Paul Nauert, the third base umpire, taking a good long call. And now Walt Weiss, the manager of the Rockies, is coming out. So you knew that Gordon was thinking about it. You knew certainly that De La Rosa was thinking about it. Now it'll be the same routine. Weiss will turn, talk to the umpire, but also look into the Colorado dugout, and he'll get his cue as to whether he should continue with the protest and make it official or call it off. So they're chatting, and now Weiss has decided he'll just go back to the dugout. He didn't even look in the dugout for a tip-off, so he probably went out there thinking maybe I'll get lucky. Gordon, another head-first slide. Bryce Harper of Washington is on the DL again. He got banged up, head-first slide, and he had a quote that's really wrong. They asked him about it. He said, oh, well, that's baseball. The worst thing about baseball is a head-first slide. Why these guys now consistently do it and pay the price is questionable. Meanwhile, runner at third, one out, infield up, and Matt Kemp with a chance to get a run batted in. Now the 3-1 pitch coming up. De La Rosa ready, left-hander delivers, swung on and missed, 3-2. For D. Gordon, he has now stolen third 11 times in his career. Not only that, it's 11 out of 13. Gordon got aboard on a bunt, and that's part of his play. 3-2 to Matt Kemp. De La Rosa delivers, grounded foul. Since Gordon came up in 2011, Eric Ibar of the Angels has the most bunt hits, 36. But Gordon, over that same stretch, now has 19, and I know we're going to see more. So 3-2 to Kemp. Gordon with a steal at third, one out. De La Rosa out of a set. Full count pitch to Matt Kemp. Swung on, ground ball to Arenado. Can't make a play on Gordon, and he's still able to throw out Kemp. So Arenado trying to tag D, who just did get around the tag. And Arenado is still quick enough to get the man Kemp at first base. So Gordon gets away, but not Kemp. So now we have two down. Gordon is still at third. And the batter, Adrian Gonzalez, who has homered in 3 straight games and has 3 home runs against De La Rosa. He's also hitting .375 against him with a dozen hits. The infield now goes back to a depth, and depth means that Rutledge goes out on the grass at second base. De La Rosa delivers, pitched down and away, ball 1. We've told you in the past, Jackie Robinson stole home 19 times in his career. You're not going to see a guy steal home with a left-hand hitter up. And most guys who reach third as fast as they are, take Maury Wills, they don't try to steal home. Maury didn't because he said he had a strong sense of failure. Meanwhile, the pitch swung on, hit down the left field line, foul into the lower deck, and they count 1 ball and 1 strike. One other thing, and I think this is accurate, if you picture the great Babe Ruth in your mind, you usually think of a top-heavy man with very thin legs who could hit home runs and also pitched well. Babe Ruth stole home, I believe, 10 times. That's kind of a surprise. Here's the 1-1 pitch on the way. Adrian looks, and it's off speed inside, and a 2-1 count. So Gordon bunts for a base hit, advances on the sacrifice by Puig, who was close to having a base hit. Gordon then steals third, but Kemp taps to third for the out. Gordon had to hold, and here's Gonzalez trying to pick him up. Jorge ready, left-handed delivers, and it is low. So he's fallen behind now, 3-1. Juan Uribe on deck. Uribe 6 for 23 against him. That would be a .261 batting average against De La Rosa. Jorge, left foot planted on the rubber, looks into Jordan Pacheco, his catcher. Now the 3-1 pitch coming up. Left-handed delivers, fastball grounded up the middle into right center. So a base hit, run batted in, and the Dodgers lead 1-0 as Adrian Gonzalez leading the way with a 2-out base hit. 23 runs batted in for Adrian. So despite the defense, despite they were playing him to pull, he finds a slot and rams it up the middle into right center field. Sounds funny, but that's really the way it went. So Adrian, base hit, run batted in. The butter and egg man delivers again, and the Dodgers lead 1-0 to bring up Juan Uribe. De La Rosa looks over at first, comes to Uribe, and that's low. Ball 1-0. Against left-hand starters this year, Dodgers 1-3 at home, 3-0 on the road. Though they're 4-3 against left-handers. The 1-0 pitch on the way. A fastball fouled away. So it's the left-handers giving De La Rosa a bad time. Gordon with the bunt single and the steal at third. And then the left-hander, Adrian Gonzalez, getting the base hit to drive him in. So 1-0 Dodgers, just starting on kind of a lazy Sunday afternoon. Nice cloud cover. Here's the 1-1 pitch coming up to Uribe. And that's a fastball, a slow roller. Arenado barehand pickup, throws in the dirt. Great pick by Morneau, and they get Uribe. However, the Dodgers get a run on Gordon's speed. He steals third and is driven home. And at the end of an inning, 1-0 Dodgers. Home on the base hit by Adrian Gonzalez. So what a combination that is. A great speedster and a solid hitter, and the Dodgers take advantage of it. And we go to the second inning, 1-0 Dodgers. Nolan Arenado, every time we see him play, he looks better and better and better. He takes a strike and the count 0-1. He comes into the game with a 16-game hitting streak. That's the only active streak going on right now. Here's the strike one pitch to Nolan, and he takes another strike. Christian Yelich of Miami had a 17-game streak, but that was snapped. Adrian Gonzalez, remember, had a 16. That was snapped. Yesterday, Yadier Molina had a 15-game streak snapped, but Nolan Arenado had a base hit in his third at bat last night, so he's hit safely in 16 straight. Nolan from nearby Newport Beach area, Lake Forest to be specific, went to El Toro High School. Got a Gold Glove in his rookie year. That's how good he is. So Arenado back up and waiting. 1-2 strikes the count. Ryu rocks and turns, comes to his hitter low. Little breeze stirring the flags. The breeze going left to right, which is the usual way. 2-2 strikes to Nolan. Then Josh Rutledge and Jordan Pacheco, and the next pitch grounded up the middle. Arenado is at it again. Well, I'll tell you one thing. He looks like he is going to have a tremendous career. He's only 23, just turned that the middle of April. 6'1", 210. He was a second-round pick in 2009. Arenado, A-R-E-N-A-D-O, first name Nolan. You're going to hear and see him for a long time. So Arenado at first, visiting a little bit with Adrian Gonzalez. And the batter now, Rutledge. So with that base hit, his streak is now 17. The bunt pushed foul up along first by Rutledge. Just looking back on Arenado, at least throughout his young career, he has not stolen many bases. He had 2 for the Rockies last year, and he only has 2 in the minors, so he doesn't do much running yet. Ryu delivers, fly ball to right, shallow. Here comes Puig, but he's there to make the catch. So a little fly ball, one away, and the batter will be Jordan Pacheco.
Next, catcher, number
the
58,
Cleveland Giant
Jordan
game
Pacheco.
is underway. They're in the second inning. Danny Salazar and Ryan Vogelsong. Vogelsong coming off his loss at Colorado. That was a game in which he only lasted an inning and a third. That game was a Giant loss. Colorado beat the Giants 8-2. The winning pitcher in that game, Jorge De La Rosa. 1 out, 1-0 Dodgers. Here's Pacheco. Jordan backing up to Rosario, has a look at a strike. Interesting contrast. Rio getting out in front of the hitters throughout the first inning. De La Rosa was behind to every hitter, except for Puig, who bunted the first pitch. So Jordan Pacheco, right-hand batter. He's from Albuquerque, New Mexico. 6'1", 190. Ryu delivers, and a high fly ball down the left field line, right down the corner, into the lower deck, and foul. Pacheco in the minor leagues at Asheville had 13 home runs. He basically is not a home run hitter. Growing up in Albuquerque, he still idolized Cal Ripken Jr. Went to the University of New Mexico. That's where the Rockies signed him, and he was a middle infielder. Swings, doesn't get a pitch down and away, and he strikes out. So that would be the second strikeout for Ryu. And the batter will be Jorge De La Rosa. So Jorge's going to hit like he pitches, left-handed all the way. 2 out, second inning. Arenado at first, pitch fouled away. 0-1 the count. And looking at De La Rosa, what he has done with the bat, he has 1 hit, 1 for 8, but he has struck out 6 of the 8 at bats. Strike 1 pitch is punched on the ground to the hole at short. Long throw by Turner, not nearly in time, and the throw bounces away at first base. And so the Rockies have something going as De La Rosa gets a base hit. I think it'll be 1-1. Base hit to the hole, and then the throw, meaning error, which sends him along. So it is 1-1. Give De La Rosa credit for a base hit. And then the error charge to Turner. And that puts runners at second and third, and a very good hitter coming up in Charlie Blackmon. Turner had to wind up from the grass to make the long throw, and it never made it on the fly. Big bounce, and it bounced off the glove and over the head of Adrian Gonzalez. So the Rockies get a break. 2 hits and an error. And now Charlie Blackmon, who singled to center in the first inning. So the left-hand hitter, and a good one, waiting at the plate. Ryu delivers, breaking ball, foul back, and the count 0-1. Charlie was hitting .411 when he arrived. The average got down to .398, and it's popped back up to .405. Colorado will be playing Arizona in Arizona. Dodgers will leave tomorrow and go to Minnesota. 0-1 the count. Ryu deals, fastball up and in. 1 ball and 1 strike. The weather is so questionable in Minnesota. Dodgers have been advised when you get there, you're going to have to wait a while. I'm sure they've sold a lot of tickets to see the Dodgers. Pitch is inside, almost hit Blackmon. And by the way, talking about the weather in Minnesota, today marked the second time a game had been postponed due to weather at Target Field, and the 10th postponed game at Target since it opened in 2010. 2-1 the count. Ryu deals low and away. He has Brandon Barnes, right-hand batter, on deck. First base open. So Barnes tuning up, and Blackmon with the count his way 3-1. Dodgers lead 1-0 with 2 hits. Rockies have already had 4 hits. 3-1 pitch on the way, swung on, hit down the left field line, slicing as she goes foul into the lower deck. Now 3-2 with 2 down. Blackmon coming back. Charlie has certainly developed into a good hitter. He was at Colorado Springs quite a bit, and then they called him up, and he hit .309 for the Rockies last year. Before that, hit .250, .280. Charlie will be 28 the 1st of July. So he goes 3-2 to Ryu. Hunjin checking the runners. Now he comes high inside. I think it hit him, so the ball is dead. So Blackmon hit by the pitch to load the bases, and Brandon Barnes coming up. So Nolan Arenado is a local boy. Brandon Barnes is from Orange. Right-hand hitter. He'll be 28 the middle of May. Brandon, well put together, 6'2", 205 pounds. Just missed making a spectacular catch of what turned out of a home run last night, hit by Matt Kemp. Could not come any closer without catching it. Right-hand batter with the bases loaded, 2 out. Ryu, slow curveball. It drops in for a strike. That didn't exactly hurry up there. It was coming at 72 miles an hour. Brandon in and out of the box. So Arenado at third, De La Rosa at second, Blackmon at first. 2 out, 1-0 Dodgers. Ryu's fastball is in there. So he went from 72 up to 91, and he has the count his way. No balls and 2 strikes. Barnes came to the Rockies with Jordan Lyles from Houston. Dexter Fowler, the center fielder, went to Texas. Ryu backs off the rubber for the moment, scraping at the rubber, deep in thought. Fedorovich stays in the crouch, and now they hook up. No balls, 2 strikes. Ryu ready, here he comes. It's reached for, and it's single to center. 1 run will score. Here comes the 2nd run to the plate. That will score on a pitch that appeared to be out of the zone, but it was hittable. No balls, 2 strikes. Barnes just reached for it and single to center. I think Ryu was startled that the location of the pitch was hit that well. So Barnes a base hit. It was away and low, and he just went down and smoked it to center. Nice bit of hitting. So he's 2 for 2 with 2 runs batted in, and the Rockies now lead 2-1. They have runners at first and second as both Arenado and De La Rosa scored. Of course, with 2 out, when you give up a single to the pitcher, you're asking for trouble, and that's exactly what Ryu got. Now the first pitch in for a strike, the Carlos Gonzalez. So again, you are really asking for it. When De La Rosa gets the base hit, then you hit Blackman 0-2, and you're unlucky on a pitch out of the strike zone and give up a base hit. And now a high fly ball to left, but Van Slyke has that on his screen, makes the catch. The inning is over, but the key was the base hit by De La Rosa, and to give Barnes a chance. And Barnes, with 2 strikes, drives in 2-1 Rockies. The Dodger Stadium themed pennant, and after the game with the Giants, fans can enjoy the Dodgers Old Timers game. They come from the past 6 decades, presented by Security Benefit. So you know, for tickets and information, visit Dodgers.com/promotions. Scott Van Slyke takes a strike in the count 0-1. Van Slyke, Turner, and Fedorovich. We told you that on that base hit by Barnes, no balls, 2 strikes on a pitch almost in the dirt. Ryu seems throttled. Ground ball back at third. Great save by Arenado. Gets him on a great throw. Wow, what a player that kid is. Nolan Arenado. Remember the other night, he made a diving catch of a line drive that saved 2 runs. Now he goes in the dirt on the foul line. Takes a double away from Van Slyke, and then further indignity throws him out from here to Pasadena. One away. Arenado, you remember, also made a good play on the dribbler off the bat of Juan Uribe. So from the looks of things, the Rockies have themselves a wonderful third baseman. One down. Back-to-back plays. Uribe to end the first. Van Slyke to start the second. Here's Turner. And he takes low, ball one. Why Ryu was so startled? Well, until the Barnes hit, opponents were 2 for 18 with the bases loaded in Hyun-Jin's career. He was just not accustomed to giving up a base hit, and he made a pitch which most of the time would not be a base hit. But for Barnes, single to center and 2 RBIs. 1 ball, no strikes. Off the plate. Change up. Another star, and at least for now, the Rockies are not playing with him. They'll be that much better when he comes back. And that's Mike Kadire, who was the batting champ last year. They pitch in for a strike. Kadire had a 27-game hitting streak. That went from the end of May to the end of June. The longest hitting streak in Rockies history. Well, don't forget, Nolan Arenado has hit in 17 straight, and he's heading for Arizona. Fastball hit to center and deep. Going back as Blackman picks it off. And watching Turner run, for a moment we thought he might have hurt his leg. Ran a little stiff-legged, but he looks okay going back. So 2 down in the second inning, and the Dodgers now have their catcher Tim Fedorovich. One of the problem spots, believe it or not, for Jorge De La Rosa is the bottom of the opposition lineup. The numbers 7, 8, and 9 hitters are batting .360 against him. And that includes a grand slam by pitcher Madison Bumgarner. Pitch in for a strike to Fedorovich. 0-1 the count. So Jorge, who has beaten the Dodgers twice, each of his last 2 outings to kind of clean up the mess. He was 0-7, 0-8, and then he won 2. He misses away. 1 ball and 1 strike. One ball, 1 strike. De La Rosa hesitates now, delivers in for a strike. 1-2. The hitters have been pretty successful against De La Rosa, going after the first pitch. The only Dodger who really went after the first pitch in the first inning was the bunt by Puig. 1-2 to Fedorovich. Swung on. Big bouncer. Foul outside of third. Those still 1-2. Nolan Arenado. That name will be rattling around in the mountains in Denver. One ball and 2 strikes. FedEx waiting. The 1-2 pitch, fastball sprayed off to the right upstairs. Big crowd today here at Dodger Stadium, and audio-wise, it's wonderful because we have 10,000 Little Leaguers. So if the Dodgers do something wonderful, you'll hear that high soprano from so many of the little ones. 1-2 to Fedorovich. Dodgers, by the way, as you would expect, growing well. They're averaging over 46,000, and we're looking at some of the Little Leaguers right now. Averaging 46,000. The next pitch is lined into left field. Base hit for Fedorovich. So thanks to that good play by Arenado, the Dodgers have 2 out and a runner at first. They easily could have had either runners at first and third or a run in, except for the play by the young third baseman. So Fedorovich, a single, and now Hyun-Jin Ryu at the plate. Ryu 1 for 12. He has struck out 5 of his 12 at-bats. De La Rosa delivers, fastball strike. Don't forget, De La Rosa singled to the hole at short in the second inning. That extended the inning with 2 out, and Ryu had to pay for it. 2 runs. 2 runs, 5 hits for the Rockies. Dodgers 1 run, 3 hits. Ryu fouls it off. So the Dodgers averaging 46,000 in 14 games, so they're already up to 646,000. They're going to be awfully close to 700,000 at the end of today. 2-1 Rockies, bottom of the second. De La Rosa, a look over at first, now to Ryu, who promptly pings it into center for a base hit. So stopping at second is Fedorovich. And boy, it has come to pass. Remember, we told you that De La Rosa has a heck of a time against the last 3 hitters in the lineup. Well, he's given up back-to-back singles to the number 8 hitter, a single to the number 9 hitter, and the batter now is D. Gordon. So turnabout is fair play. De La Rosa singles, and so Ryu singles. Clean single to center. And the batter will be D. Gordon, who bunted for a base hit in the first inning. Blackman coming up to backhand it on the run, but Fedorovich, a station-to-station catcher, of course, just went from first to second. So 2 men on with 2 out, and here's D. Gordon hitting .358, half a dozen runs batted in. It's 2-1 Rockies, bottom of the second. And timeout for the moment. On deck, Yasiel Puig. Infield is back, so we'll see whether Gordon tries to take advantage and dump one again. He backs out, so timeout. Rockies 2 runs, 5 hits. Dodgers 1 run, 4 hits, and we're only in the second inning. De La Rosa set, looks back at FedEx, works the plate low and away. 1 ball and no strikes. De La Rosa now 34 pitches, which means 16 so far in the second inning. Jorge, 33 years old. De La Rosa out of a stretch, another look back at second. The pitch to Gordon, full swing, high chopper to short. Tulo just runs over to the bag, and that's that. So the Dodgers, no runs, 2 hits, might have had a better inning, but that man Arenado spoiled it, saving a base hit that would have been for Van Slyke, and it's 2-1 Colorado. We go to the third inning. 35 pitches made in 2 innings by Jorge, 46 pitches made by Hyun-jin. And in the 3rd inning, it will be Tulowitzki, then Morneau, and then, of course, Arenado. Tulowitzki struck out with 2 on in the 1st inning. Rockies have left 4 in 2 innings. Dodgers have left 3. Meanwhile, a little meeting at the mound. You know, they're very good pals. You wonder how they communicate. Juan Uribe and Hyun-jin Ryu. They do. But boy, they are full of hijinks with each other in the dugout. Then you toss in Yasiel Puig and you have a bit of a circus. So Uribe has talked to his buddy and now Ryu is ready to pitch. The first pitch, ground ball to short. Up with it is Justin. Winds up, makes the play, and that takes care of Tulowitzki. 1 away here in the 3rd inning. And the batter will be Justin Morneau, who popped it up and who was caught by Ryu. 1 out in the 3rd. We're talking a lot about Arenado and the fact that he has a 17-game hitting streak. He'll be up in a little while. And you might be wondering about Dodger hitting streaks down through the franchise. First pitch is low, ball 1 to Morneau. The best one, Willie Davis, the 3-dog. Back in 1969, Willie had a 31-game hitting streak. 1-0 pitch, waved at and missed. Andre Ethier had a 30-game streak. Then you go way back to 1916. Zach Wheat had a 29-game streak. And then Joe Medwick and Duke Snyder each hit safely in 27. Ball hit down the line, foul. 1-2 the count to Morneau. So in case you were wondering, those are the longest Dodger hitting streaks. 1 ball and 2 strikes. It's 2-1 favor of the Rockies. Rockies won 10 of 19 from the Dodgers last year, including 6 of 10 here. And the pitch to Morneau, down and away. One thing for Rio, he's making a lot of pitches. That's not a good sign. He's made 51 pitches with 1 out in the 3rd inning. He's got to cut that down by a lot. 2-2 pitch is a slow tapper, speared by Ryu, who turns and throws him out. Nice defensive play. Ryu heading towards a third base situation. Whirled, fired, through a strike. High chopper, he was able to spear it, then turn and get his man. So with 2 out in the 3rd inning, here he comes. Nolan Arenado. Single to center, scored a run. More than that, took a base hit away from Uribe in the 1st inning, and then took an extra base hit away from Van Slyke, leading off the 2nd. And of course that was huge because the Dodgers with 2 out then had 2 hits. Nolan takes high, ball 1, 1-0 to count. When he was in high school, Nolan hit safely in 27 out of 28. This time a towering pop foul behind the plate. Fedorovich can't get it. It's on the other side of the screen. He and the rookie umpire Stu Sherwater colliding. One of the greatest plays I ever saw, and I know I mentioned this once before, was an exhibition game. And you say, oh, well, it doesn't mean anything. But yeah, it did. It was an exhibition game between the Braves of then Milwaukee and the Dodgers. And there's a high fly ball to left, but it's playable. Van Slyke is there and makes the catch. Yes, we are trying to keep you right here. And we'll tell you more about that great play at the end of 2.5 innings, 2-1, Colorado. It wasn't in Florida, and the Dodgers were barnstorming with the Milwaukee Braves. In whatever inning, it doesn't make any difference. The Dodgers had the bases loaded, and the Dodger hitter hit a high foul ball, just like the one that went into the seats a moment ago of Arenado's bat. Del Crandall was the catcher for Milwaukee. World bumped into the umpire, just as FedEx did with Sherwater. Bumped into the umpire, and his glove came off. And Crandall went back, stood with the bases loaded under this towering foul ball, and he tried to catch it barehanded. Now just imagine that, let's say in a regular season game, and then pump it up. Pitch to Puig, swung on and missed. If you want to make it a playoff game, or the ultimate, make it a World Series game. Bases loaded, 2 out, foul ball, catcher loses his mitt and is standing underneath it. It was a remarkable moment. No, he dropped it. But he tried to catch it and bring it to his chest and smother it. But it wormed its way out of the mitt and dropped. But for that moment, a catcher trying to catch a foul ball with the bases loaded and no glove, wow. Puig, meanwhile, is nicked by a pitch, slow breaking ball, and he'll say thank you and go to first. So the tying run is aboard, and the batter now will be Matt Kemp. You know, one thing that's going on today, we were talking about Ryu. He had made 46 pitches in the first 2 innings. He did cut that back in the 3rd inning to 9. But what is important is the fact that Ryu is pitching on 4 days rest today, and on 4 days rest, Ryu is only 5-5 in his career on 4 days. 5 days, he is 8-1. Isn't that remarkable? So now here's Matt Kemp. Puig at first, drawing a throw, jumps back on the bag. 2 runs, 5 hits for the Rockies. 1 run, 4 hits, and an error for the Dodgers. Dodgers had a couple of base hits, scored a run in the first inning, had a couple of base hits with 2 out in the second, didn't score, and they trailed by 1. The pitch to Matt Kemp finds the mark, off speed, outside corner. So De La Rosa and Ryu both in a lot of trouble. Rockies lead 2-1, bottom of the 3rd. Light breeze blowing left to right. Strike 1 pitch on the way, low in the dirt. Nice save by Pacheco. The Indians Giants, they're scoreless, bottom of the 4th. Remember, the Dodgers trail by a half a game. One other thing about pitchers resting, how about De La Rosa? On 4 days rest, he's 40-26. 5 days rest, he's break even. He's pitching on 4 days rest today. Fastball golfed at and missed. 1-2. So Kemp against a pitcher whom he usually hits hard. Tapped out in the first inning. 1-2 the count. Matt with 3 home runs against De La Rosa, and I'll bet each man remembers. 1-2 pitch coming up. De La Rosa staring at Puig, and the pitch swung on and missed. So Matt Kemp really struggling. Down he goes. For Matt, he has now struck out 23 times. That's a bunch of Ks this early in the year. And the batter will be Adrian Gonzalez. First strikeout for De La Rosa. Gonzalez singled up the middle to drive in the Dodger run in the first inning, hitting .316, 23 runs batted in to go along with 8 home runs. As we mentioned, he is really swinging the bat as well as he did back in 2010. Throw to first, not in time. 2010 with the Padres, 31 home runs, 101 runs batted in. Just missed hitting 300 at .298. Huge year. They load up the right side. De La Rosa, a look over at Puig, 1 out. Pitch to Gonzalez, taken low and inside. If he were that clever, I mean, if he could just bunt the ball towards third, even towards short, there's nobody there. Look at that. Arenado way over to his left. 1 ball and no strikes. De La Rosa, long look at Puig, still looking, and Adrian said, wait a minute, I've had enough, and he backs out. 2 runs, 5 hits for the Rockies, 1 run, 4 hits for the Dodgers. Dodgers, as you may know, set a Dodger record, most extra inning games in April. The pitch is low, 2-0. Dodgers have been in 6 extra inning games this month. They're 1-5, so they're not very happy about it. 2-0 the count. 2-1 Rockies. 3rd inning, Puig at first. De La Rosa delivers low and away. Ball 3. Puig at first has stolen 1 out of 2. On deck, Juan Uribe. For De La Rosa, he's running out of April, and that's been a good month for him. In his career, 15-10. May has not been the merry month. Not for Jorge De La Rosa. He's 9-14 in May. And the next pitch on the outside corner for a strike. The other months from June on, he's either 500 or better. His best month, July, he's 14-7. 3-1 the count. Adrian waiting. Puig goes. The pitch swung on and fouled away. So Yasiel back to first. 3-2 the count to Adrian. 1 out. 3rd inning. 2-1 Colorado. Dodgers got a run in the 1st inning. Rockies got 2 in the 2nd, thanks to a 2-out single by De La Rosa that extended the inning. And Brandon Barnes had a base hit on a no-ball, 2-strike pitch that was almost in the dirt. And 2 runs came in. Good bit of hitting. It's a good bit of hitting if you get a base hit. If you hit a little ground ball, sure, the other way around. Here comes De La Rosa. Fastball hit to the left, backhanded at short for 1, back to first, double play. So with Tulowitzki moved over to one side, who of course started the double play? Sure, Nolan Arenado. At the end of 3, it's 2-1 Colorado. Try Jack in the Box. Head to Jack in the Box and try the new Jack's Blazin' Chicken Sandwich. It's Jack's hottest sandwich yet. and by the Ram 1500, Motor Trend's 2014 Truck of the Year and first ever back-to-back champion. As we go to the fourth inning, 2-1 in favor of Colorado on this gorgeous Sunday afternoon with a full house. We can also tell you De La Rosa made only 12 pitches in the third inning. He's gotten 7 ground ball outs in the 3 innings. So the Rockies are leading 2-1. Josh Rutledge fouls off the first pitch. No balls and 1 strike. Josh hitting .316. He's from Cullman, Alabama. And a strike, 0-2. Went to the University of Alabama. Played very well in the Cape Cod League, which is such an important area to develop young college players for the professional life. Big chopper wide of third, speared by Uribe. That throw really took off, but Adrian able to reach up, snare it, 1 down. Take another look. You take it for granted when you have a good fielding first baseman, but that ball really sailed. And Adrian toe dance reaches up as far as he can to make the play. 1 down. Jordan Pacheco coming up. Pacheco struck out in his first at bat. And a high strike, 0-1. Jordan, as we mentioned, from Albuquerque. He had 1 home run last year for the Rockies, and he played in 95 games. 1 ball, 1 strike. Pacheco has a bit of a philosophy, which is a good one to have as a player. He says, I treat everything as either a lesson or an opportunity. Slow breaking ball at 71 to drop in there. Jordan, as deep as the law allows in the batter's box. That's the one thing that hitters get away with. He's right on that back line, maybe. They go to a great deal of trouble before the game to outline the foul lines, and then, of course, the batter's box. And then by the time you get to the third inning, the back line is just about wiped out. And maybe they'll have their toe and then turn so that the heel might actually be out of the box, and the plate umpire is very much locked in on the pitch. That's low. 2-2 the count. When he was a rookie 2 years ago, he hit .309. He led the rookies in the league. Jordan Pacheco, 28 years old. Fastball hit into right, but it's slicing, and Puig's going to make the catch. That ball was really slicing. Normally, we would call it a room service fly ball because the slice makes it easy, but that thing almost fooled Puig. And with great body control, he was able to stay with the slice. Looks easy there, but now look, just does spear it. 2 down. Now De La Rosa, who got that base hit in the second inning. Huge hit. It extended the inning. It had runners at first and second because of it. Then Blackman hit by a pitch, and boom. Barnes, no balls, 2 strikes. Hit a ball inches from going in the dirt for a base hit and 2 runs. That's kicked by Uribe, throws and gets him anyway. De La Rosa not exactly burning down the line. So that is 7 in a row retired by Ryu at the end of 3.5. 2-1 Colorado. 11, Dodgers and Giants, and the first 40,000 fans in attendance receive a Mother's Day clutch. Compliments of Mother's Cookies. For tickets, visit Dodgers.com/promotions today. We were talking earlier about Hyun-Jin Ryu saying he's going to have to cut back his pitches. Oh, that's like holding a worm, isn't it? If you're a mom or a dad and you have a youngster with the wiggles, it's a tough assignment. She's doing very well. Anyway, we were talking about Ryu, and he had made 46 pitches in the first 2 innings. Well, he has certainly cut that around. Ah, yes. Now there is peace and quiet as the angel is enjoying a little lunch. But then they grow up to be precious little girls. Ryu made 9 pitches in the 3rd inning and only 11 pitches in the 4th inning. So all of a sudden he's back on the beam in the pitch count. Jorge De La Rosa has been right steady. 47 pitches for his 3 innings. Now it's Uribe, Van Slyke, and Turner. Oh, and 1. De La Rosa gets his strikeouts swinging. Most of them, the hitter goes down swinging rather than caught looking. One ball and 1 strike. Should have told you this before Ryu came up, but opposing pitchers have done very well against him. 2-1. And of course, if you're a first ball hitter against De La Rosa, who obviously tries to get ahead, well, the first ball hitters are batting .462 against him. 2-1. Fastball whacked foul. 2-2. De La Rosa facing Uribe here in the bottom of the 4th inning. Another note on Jorge. He gets some good run support while he's pitching. They've gotten him over 5 runs. Away, and Uribe gone after it. I'm not sure if that would have been a strike, but he did get a piece of it. So he's still there. 2 balls, 2 strikes. If you give him time, De La Rosa is liable to walk you. He has walked 11. Two balls, 2 strikes. Again away, and this time Uribe hits it to right into Barnes' glove. So Jorge was very much inclined to keep the ball away. Uribe finally went after it, lines out to right, 1 down, and Scott Van Slyke, the batter. Scotty robbed of an extra base hit, leading off the 2nd inning by, of course, Nolan Arenado. Up and at him, out at first. Every game, he has just been an absolute standout. 0-1. So Van Slyke going after the first pitch, which has been a payoff for a lot of hitters. De La Rosa has now made 54 pitches. It's important. We were giving you the numbers. Ground ball to Arenado. Plenty of time. 2 down. When he gets up to 75, that's when De La Rosa has big problems. First 25 pitches, they're hitting less than 100. First 3 innings, Opposition hitting just .214. And then from 26 to 75, the opposition hitting .442. Well, the Dodgers are kind of in that zone right now, and they haven't done anything. Turner fly to center in the second inning. Breaking ball strike and slow break 74. Turner fly to center in the second inning. No balls, one strike. Show him a fastball way outside. 1-1. They are here. There's a big crowd, including the 10,000. You could take the 10,000 Little Leaguers and it would still be a big crowd for the final game on this homestand. Boy, I'm looking at the weather reports on the Weather Channel. They show you the Plain States. They show you Minnesota. And the weather looks awful. I mean, they're talking it's a nice day if it's 40 and it's raining most of the time. And remember, no roof. No roof in the new stadium in Minnesota. 1-2. Fastball just off the plate. De La Rosa ready to walk to the dugout. Yeah, you would think, wow, Minnesota, you'd figure they'd put a roof on it like Milwaukee. But of course, in snow country, the roof really has to be big and strong and awfully expensive. Ball 3, so fastball away, and the next one low and inside. Minneapolis right now, of course, it's 4:30 or thereabouts. It's 43 degrees in Minneapolis right this minute. Talking about 45 tomorrow. Little dribble to short, too low. Gloves, throws, gets in, and that's that. The temperatures for the next couple of days, 45, then Tuesday 38, 43, 48, and then the Dodgers are out of there. And at the end of 4, it's 2-1 Colorado. Two in the second inning after the Dodgers scored 1 in the first inning. So now in the fifth, Blackmon, Barnes, and Gonzalez. Through 4 innings, the last 2 of which Ryu has really settled down. Made 9 pitches in the third, 11 pitches in the fourth. The difference, not much now. Ryu 66 pitches. De La Rosa 61. Remember, Ryu started off very wobbly, 23 pitches in each of the first 2 innings. So here's Blackmon, singled, hit by a pitch, and a strike. 0-1. Charlie out of Georgia Tech. And promptly bangs it into right center. That's a base hit. In fact, it'll go to the wall. Blackman into second base and holding with a long leadoff double. So in 5 innings, 3 of the 5 innings, the leadoff man is reached. Blackman single to open up the game. Arenado single to open up the second inning. And now Blackman doubles, opening up the 5th inning. Got a pitch up, and Charlie certainly knew what to do with it. Good hitter. Came into the series hitting .411. Dropped down to under .400. And now he's sailing again, 2 for 2 today. So with Blackman at second, nobody out. Barnes the batter. Uribe on the grass. Outfield fanned out straight away. Blackman runs very well. Ball 1. Barnes showing bunt. Brandon single to left. And then the base hit in the second inning. Wow. No balls, 2 strikes. And normally you say the pitcher should never allow that. But boy, it took a great bit of hitting to hit that 0-2 pitch and drive in 2 runs. 1 ball and no strikes. 1-1. Barnes wearing number 1. I can't ever look at that number without thinking of Harold Pee Wee Reese. Yep, number 1. He was special, not just as a player. The bunt is down. Ryu is on it, drops it, picks it up, throws, and it's too late. So Ryu makes an error. Runners at first and third, nobody out, and Carlos Gonzalez the batter. So the Dodgers are doing it again. It must be maddening for Don Mattingly. The Dodgers are now playing their 26th game, and they have made 25 errors. So Ryu joining the error by Turner. Rockies first and third, nobody out, and here comes the big 3. Gonzalez, Tulowitzki, and Morneau. Sooner or later, they will give you grief. High foul off to the left and out of play. 0-1. The big 3 right now is a big 0 for 6. But you are really flirting for dynamite with Gonzalez 2 fly balls, Tulo strikeout, ground out, Morneau a pop up, hit back to the box. 3rd time around, look out. 0-1. Blackman down the line from third. Barnes at first. Waved at, runner going. Who's covering? It's a shortstop, Turner, keeping an eye on Blackman. Tags the runner. Here comes Blackman to score. The throw misses the plate, but he would have scored anyway. So the decision was made, and the Rockies pick up a run. So Barnes and Blackman, as Barnes is being run down by Justin Turner. While all that's taking place, Blackman says thank you, and he comes in. Turner running him back to second, but he never looked towards the plate. Then when he tries to make the off-balance throw, Blackman runs way too much to be beaten. 3-1 Colorado. Meanwhile, Cargo waiting at the plate. No balls and 2 strikes. Off the plate, 1-2. The Blackman in the leadoff role has been on base all 3 times. And by the way, we told you he came in hitting .411, dropped down to the high 90s. He's back up to hitting .412. Charlie Blackman out of Dallas, Texas, Big D, and the wreck from Georgia Tech. 1-2 to count. Carlos Gonzalez, Tulowitzki on deck. Chased and missed. Boy, he is really in a slump. So Gonzalez strikes out. 0 for 3. And now Tulowitzki.
Shortstop number 2, Troy Tulowitzki.
Boy, Gonzalez on this little road trip, he is 1 for 12 and has not looked good going 1 for 12. He's a much better hitter than that. Tulo off speed away, ball 1. 3 strikeouts, by the way, for Hyun-Jin Ryu. Way out in front of a pitch out of the strike zone. 1 ball, 1 strike. Troy Tulowitzki, marvelous shortstop, wonderful hitter. 2-1. So far this year, he has really followed the pattern, but he's a better hitter than talk pattern. But at Coors Field, 4 home runs, 14 RBIs, and a .563 batting average. On the road, however, just 1 home run, 3 RBIs, hitting about 220-ish, somewhere in there. Troy's 29. He'll be 30 in October. Another strike. When the Dodgers come up in the bottom of the 5th inning, Fedorovich, Ryu, and Gordon. A sellout crowd taken in the ball game. Made a lot of noise in the 1st inning. They've been sitting on their hands, however, ever since. Fastball to Uribe, cranks it up, lets it fly, and that's the inning. For the inning, the error allows the run during the rundown, and at the end of 4.5 innings, 3-1 Colorado. Errors today. Dodgers have made 25 errors. And when you look at some quiet hitters, you start out, let's say, with Uribe in the month of April. With runners in scoring position, Uribe, 1 home run, hitting 190. Hanley Ramirez, no home runs, hitting 190. Matt Kemp, 1 home run, but hitting 176 with runners in scoring position. Carl Crawford, hitting just 133 with runners in scoring position. And ball one to Federowicz. Who's been producing? Yasiel Puig. 2 home runs in April, batting .417. Adrian Gonzalez, 3 home runs, batting .345. D. Gordon, no home runs, but hitting .313. Again now, we're talking about runners in scoring position. And Andre Ethier, a home run, batting .308. Line foul. So the boys really struggling in April. Uribe, Ramirez, Kemp, and Crawford. 1 ball and 1 strike. Federowicz single left in the second inning. Oh, yes. The little leaguers are here, boys and girls. What a great place to hang out instead of at the mall. 1 ball, 1 strike. Fastball pulled to third. Arenado. So 1 away in the 5th inning. The Dodgers' last hit was a base hit by Ryu. They've had 1 man on base after the hit by Ryu, and that was Puig, who was hit by a pitch. The De La Rosa, who was 7-0 in the daylight last year, stifling the Dodgers so far, 0-1. And remember, don't be fooled by that 2-8 lifetime record. The 2 are his last 2 starts against the Dodgers. That's a strike. The only thing that Jorge is doing differently this year on the road, he's battling 0-3, looking for a win. Light breeze blowing left to right. In the dirt. De La Rosa has kept the ball down, and he has gotten 10 ground ball outs. 7 of those 10 ground balls, that's a lock. They've gone to Arenado. Arenado, with all of his ability, has committed 4 errors. But he's money in the bank, this kid. 2-2. One out, bases empty, 3-1 Colorado. Big crowd, very quiet. So down goes Ryu. And the batter will be D. Gordon. De La Rosa, for the moment anyway, very much in command. Gordon bunted for a base hit, stole third in the 1st inning, and came home on a base hit by Adrian Gonzalez. Dodgers have really not been heard from since. Might be a different story except for 2 fine plays made by Arenado, with a runner aboard in the 1st and on Van Slyke opening up the 2nd. Curveball on the corner. 0-1. Fastball hit in the air to left field. Gonzalez right there. So the Dodgers roll over outside of the hit batter. The last hit was by Ryu in the 2nd inning, and it's 3-1 Colorado. mania really took off. And why? Fernando shut out the Giants 5-0. It was his 4th shutout in 5 starts. On that day, he also had a big day personally. He had 3 hits, knocked in a run, and one more thing, tried to score from second base on a base hit, and they nailed him at the plate. But still, it was Fernando mania at its marvelous. Let's move on to this one. Check swing for ball 1. Justin Morneau, Nolan Arenado, and then Josh Rutledge in that order. And that's low, ball 2. Morneau popped up to Ryu and hit back to Ryu. Ground ball over third down the line. So Morneau on his way for 2. Van Slyke guns it in. What? We were looking at the second base umpire. The ball finally got away. But there was a moment there where it was going to be awfully close.
Third baseman, number 28.
Take another look. Ball is slapped over third. Uribe playing him way wide. Van Slyke comes racing over, picks it up, fires it into second base. Looks very close there, only it gets away from Gordon. So a leadoff double by Morneau. The leadoff double by Blackmon was cashed in the 5th inning. The leadoff single by Arenado was cashed in the 2nd inning. So Ryu having trouble with that leadoff hitter, and Arenado with his base hit has his streak at 17. Again, Ryu is out of sorts. He's pitching on 4 days rest. He's accustomed to 5. He's break even 5-5 on 4 days rest. He is 8-1 on 5, and that's lifted into the gap. It's going to drop. Morneau will be locked in at third. No reason to rush him, but a poor throw. Wow. Allowing Arenado to go to second. Boy, that is an embarrassing play. That is far from the big leagues. A big balloon airmail. Take another look. Going to drop for the base hit. There's no doubt about that. And then Van Slyke, just ball must have slipped. So what he did to Arenado was, if you don't mind, take second base. Second and third, nobody out. The infield has to play up. Josh Rutledge at the plate. Brandon League gets up in the bullpen. 3 runs, 8 hits, no errors for the Rockies. 1 run, 4 hits, 2 errors for the Dodgers. And League tuning up. Curveball, foul ball. Ryu been in trouble every inning. Got into the groove a little bit. Retired the side in order in the 3rd and 4th. But otherwise, it's been a long day for him. And a high fly ball to deep left field. Ryu just walks off the mound. He knows that's gone. 3-run home run. That makes it 6-1 Colorado. You know, you think, oh, what's the difference? I mean, pitching on 4 days rest or 5 days rest. For these major league starters in this day and age, it's the difference from asking a quarter horse to run a mile. It's just, they just can't do it. And Rutledge, after his home run, that breaks it wide open, and the batter is Jordan Pacheco. 6 runs, 9 hits for the Rockies. 1 run, 4 hits for the Dodgers. The Rutledge bangs it out. For the Rockies, that home run today gives them 32. The Dodgers have hit 27. Dodgers under 500 at home, and that is not the ticket. They are 6-8 here. They're 8-3 on the road, but again, a lot of that was at the expense of the Arizona Diamondbacks early. And timeout now. Rio is just not Rio. One of the other interesting things about Rio in this particular game, when the hitters were behind in the count, they still went 7 of 9 against him. Normally, when he's on his game and he's out in front of the count, he just takes care of the hitters, but not today. Mattingly looks like he personally is going to take him out. They're waiting for Brandon Lee. Now Mattingly points, but Lee was already walking to the gate. So Brandon will be coming in. Ryu out of sorts from the very beginning when he made 23 pitches in the first inning. Goes out losing 6-1, and we'll be back.
Your attention, please. Now coming into pitch for the Dodgers.
Of April, the Giants roughed him up for 8 runs in 2 innings. Philadelphia scored only 2 runs, but they had 9 hits in a short outing. So as far as the Dodgers are concerned, when Ryu is pitching at home, they have not done well. However, on the road, he has won in Arizona twice and in San Francisco. So Brandon Lee will pick up the pieces, and the batter will be Jordan Pacheco. There's nobody out. The double by Morneau, the single by Arenado, and then the home run by Josh Rutledge. Fastball, Uribe backs up, caught between hops, but he makes a nice play. 1 out. Dodgers 6-8 at home, lose today 6-9, which is not the ticket. Normally the formula is you do well at home and you battle to break even on the road. Dodgers are trying to do it backwards. If they lose today, they will be 6-9 at home, and they'll go out on the road where they've won 8 and only lost 3. And a strike to De La Rosa. De La Rosa infield single, grounded to third, 1 for 2. Oh, and 2. On deck, Charlie Blackmon bidding for a perfect day. Brandon, something in his right eye. He's ready again. 0-2. Check swing, pitch in the dirt, rolls behind Fedorovich. He picks it up and gets the out. 2 down. The leadoff man, Charlie Blackmon, single to center, hit by a pitch, and double, scored a run. So he has scored twice. So Charlie up there at 412 now. Ball 1. Noticing Brandon Lee point to his eye to tell the plate umpire for a split second. He had something in his eye. There have been fellows who have played with handicaps in the big leagues. And when he pointed to his eye, I thought of Tom Sunkel. Tom Sunkel was a major league pitcher, had only one eye. Pete Gray was a major league outfielder. He only had one arm. Monty Stratton, several players, pitchers, had only one leg. So even the toughest obstacles have been overcome by a few people. 7th inning, Giants are leading the Indians 1-0. 2-1. 3-1. So in the inning, Morneau doubled. Arenado single, took second on a poor throw. Rutledge hits a home run. Ryu comes out, having been charged with 6 earned runs. Three and 2. Dodgers leave tomorrow. Go out on the road to the frozen north, to Minnesota. Then they'll thaw out in Miami. And who knows what kind of weather they'll get in Washington. And then home, open up the seal with 4 huge games against the Giants. Fastball lifted to left, Van Slyke. Okay, that'll do it. Do it means 3 runs. And at the end of 5.5, 6-1 Colorado. Reminder, when the Dodgers come home Thursday, May the 8th, it'll be Dodgers Giants, and the first 40,000 fans will be able to take home their seat when they get their very own inflatable chair. Compliments of Coca-Cola. For tickets, visit Dodgers.com/promotions. The Dodgers are hoping it will be inflatable as opposed to deflatable, the way things have been going at home. And in talking about things going at home, how about Hyun-Jin Ryu? His earned run average at Dodger Stadium now is over 11. He's 0-1, maybe 0-2. On the road, Hyun-Jin is not only 3-0, his earned run average is 0-0-0 because he has 26 consecutive scoreless innings on the road. Puig takes ball one. Want to know the count. Yasiel sacrificed in the first inning, hit by a pitch in the third. Foul back, 1-1. So the Dodgers are not about to say home sweet home, not right now, not this stage, not in the month of April. T.S. Eliot wrote April is the cruelest month. Dodgers might agree. Off the end of the stick, a little dribbler. D just stands there, waits, and then goes to the bag. One away. For the Dodgers, a sense of frustration. It's like if you have children and one or two of them are very talented and you ask them to perform in front of visitors and they just don't live up to your expectations. Well, here's the Dodgers, last game at home on the stand. Beautiful day in the ballpark. A capacity crowd, a sellout. 10,000 very impressionable young little leaguers. And they're losing 6-1 with 1 out, 6th inning. The stars are not shining. Matt Kemp is grounded out, struck out, 0 for 2. The only run, Gordon at third. Gonzalez singled him home. 1 ball and no strikes. And a drive to left, hooking right at the glove of Carlos Gonzalez. So that ball was hit hard, but out. So 2 out in the 6th. Adrian Gonzalez singled, hit into a double play. 6 runs, 9 hits for Colorado. Remember, the Dodgers began the day a half a game behind the Giants, and the Rockies trailed by a game and a half. Last we heard, the Giants were winning 1-0. They set up the defense on the right side against Gonzalez. Breaking ball on the corner. 0-1. Maybe a cutter, the way that thing seemed to jump at the last minute. No balls, 1 strike. De La Rosa has a very rhythmical delivery. He'll bring the right leg up for a pause, and then it'll just move an inch or two. So it's a 1, 2, 3 pitch. 1 ball, 1 strike. Leg up. There's the hitch. Here he comes. 2-1 to count. We were watching Johnny Cueto of Cincinnati pitch. He holds the ball back of the hip, turns his entire upper body towards second base, but keeps looking at home plate. This is really a 1, 2, 3 delivery. 1, 2, 3. And with all of that, he's behind 3-1. 6 runs, 9 hits for the Rockies. 1 run, 4 hits for the Dodgers. Rockies started off well last year. They were 15-8. However, they finished 14 games under 500 and in last place. And why? They couldn't win on the road. They were 29-52 on the road. Fouled away, second level, 3-2. The Rockies averaging almost 7.5 runs at home and a little more than 3 runs a game on the road. But right now, Rockies leading 6-1 on the road, trying to make it 2 out of 3. Full count. And ball 4. So Gonzalez draws a walk. That's the only walk given up by De La Rosa. He did hit Puig, but he's had great control. And here's Uribe. Uribe lost a hit, tapped the ball up along third. Wonderful charge, bare hand scoop, and off balance throw. All done so quickly by Arenado to get him. Then last time up in the 4th inning, they were pitching him away. So he finally knew it, got a pitch away, hit the ball hard, but right at the right fielder, Brandon Barnes. Now, after the meeting, Uribe's naturally wondering, are they going to pitch me away again, or will they challenge me inside? Two out in the inning. Gonzalez at first. And it's low and away. Ball 1. Uribe was supposed to be rested last night. However, when Hanley Ramirez was jammed, hurt his thumb, Uribe had to play. Fastball popped up. I mean up. Justin Morneau. So the Dodgers roll over in the 6th. They have not had a hit since Ryu singled in the 2nd inning. And at the end of 6, 6-1, Colorado. Francisco, the Indians and the Giants are tied 1-1 in the 8th inning. Ryan Vogelsong went 7 great innings and shut out Cleveland for 2 hits. And then Santiago Casilla came in to pitch the 8th, and the first hitter he faced, Yan Gomes, promptly homered to tie it up. So the Giants Indians 1-1, top of the 8th. 7th inning, it'll be Barnes, Gonzalez, and Tulowitzki, and the breeze had really picked up, blowing left to right. Ball 1. Barnes single in the 1st, single in the 2nd, reached on an error in the 5th. 1 ball and no strikes. 2-0 to Brandon. So a couple of boys from the neighborhood, Brandon Barnes, Nolan Arenado, and both doing very well. Barnes had a hit and a walk last night, 2 hits today, and a pinch double in the first game. DJ LeMahieu playing second base in the first 2 games. Josh Rutledge plays today, and he hits a 3-run home run to completely turn the game around. Strike. 3 balls, 1 strike. Dodgers were looking to close out on a high note. When this game began, the Dodgers were 1 victory away from number 10,000 in the history of the franchise, going all the way back to just before 1900. You may or may not remember there was a discrepancy as to just how many victories the Dodgers had. And it turned out, kind of a bizarre story, a player from Syracuse, he played with the Syracuse team, the Chiefs. His name was Wrigley. It's a big chopper over the mound, tough play. On the run, too late, and it'll go as an infield single for Barnes. So he's 3 for 4. The Dodgers were counting up how many victories they needed. The Elias Statistical Bureau counted how many they felt they needed. And then the Dodger historian, Mark Langell, got into the old books, got into a Reach sporting goods guide, Reach, a big sporting goods company, from 1900. Dodgers are going to appeal that play, so we'll continue. Mattingly, who was right last night on a pickoff, we'll see about this one. Anyway, there were 13 games different, 13 that the Dodgers needed to get close. And finally, when they went back through the books and Mark Langell found the story, there were 18 games played by this man from Syracuse named Wrigley. We're kind of killing time, I admit it. Anyway, when they checked, they found that he was playing for the Brooklyn Dodgers, even though he had agreed to a contract with the New York team. So they threw out all the games that Mr. Wrigley played in. Had nothing to do with gum, although this Wrigley gummed up the schedule. And now, after all of that, the Dodgers need 1 more victory to get to 10,000. Now, wouldn't you think they would have the decency to win 1 more game in this homestand to get to 10,000? Right now, the answer is no. They're down 6-1, 7th inning, questioning Brandon Barnes at first. So we'll just wait and see, huh? The umpires listening to the umpires in New York. Barnes with a chance to go 3 for 4. And the Dodgers with a chance to get a leadoff man out. The leadoff man Blockman got on in the first inning. Arenado led off the second with a base hit. Blockman led off the 5th with a double. Morneau led off the 6th with a double. And now Barnes leads off with a questionable play. Oh, let's see. Out. So Barnes out on a 6-3 play. And we have 1 away. So Justin Turner on a very tough play. That ball was just dribbling out there towards second. So with 1 out, a very hungry Carlos Gonzalez coming up. Mattingly now 2 for 2 on very close plays. 1 a pickoff and 1 on a ground ball, and he's 2 for 2. Gonzalez had 1 hit last night, 1 for 4, struck out twice, 0 for 3 today. So that makes him 1 for 7. And in the first game, went 0 for 5. So it's been an empty cargo, and nevertheless the Rockies lead 6-1, trying to win 2 out of 3. Tulowitzki on deck, 0 for 3 today, 0 for 4 last night to be 0 for 7. He did have a home run in the first game. So Tulo is 1 for 11 in the series. Foul ball. So that's an indication things are changing in Colorado. If you can play a 3-game series against the Rockies and really shut down Gonzalez and Tulowitzki, you figure you're going to win a couple. But the Dodgers have only won 1, and Walt Weiss is on his way trying to make it 2 out of 3. 1-2. Wow. So Cargo strikes out again. 1 out. I don't know. I can't remember a Dodger Rockies series where both Gonzalez and Tulowitzki were completely shut down. But they're trying to make it 2 out of 3, and here's Tulo. Struck out, grounded out twice, 0 for 3. It is a very, very humbling game. I mean, you're looking at two fellas, Cargo and Tulowitzki. They are superstars. They both have long contracts. They both make a lot of money. And yet, even those talented players struggle. This time, fly ball that's going to be caught, I believe, on a diving catch by Van Slyke. Yep, he caught it. Wonderful play by Scotty. Down go the Rockies in order, and we can take another look as we're going to the bottom of the 7th inning. He reaches out, leaves his feet, and makes the catch. And it's still 6-1 Rockies. who made that nice diving catch, will lead it off, followed by Justin Turner and then Tim Federowicz. Down in the Dodger bullpen, Brian Wilson was throwing and is throwing. So if they get down to Brandon League, they'll hit for him and bring in Brian, who is the first to say he needs more work. De La Rosa works a pitch that misses, ball one. The Chicago White Sox have a kid from Cuba, and they are saying this one is really special. His name is Jose Abreu. He's no relation to Bobby. Bobby from Venezuela. This Abreu is a landsman of Puig from Cuba. Tell you about him in a moment. 2 balls and no strikes. In there. Albert Pujols has a record for RBIs by a rookie in the month of April. He had 27 runs batted in 2001. Can you believe it has been shattered today by young Jose Abreu? 2-2. Abreu is a big White Sox first baseman from Cuba. He recently signed a 6-year, $68 million contract with the White Sox. What's he done in April? He has hit 10 home runs, and he has knocked in 31 runs batted in. Not only tops among rookies, tops in the major leagues. Ball 3. So while we're going to remember Nolan Arenado, the American League will certainly remember Jose Abreu of the Chicago White Sox by way of Cuba. 3-2. Adam Ottavino warming up down in the Colorado bullpen. And a big swing and a miss by Scotty, and down he goes. So the Dodgers have not had a hit since Ryu singled in the 2nd inning, and we have 1 out in the 7th. De La Rosa has only made 90 pitches. Here's Justin Turner, fly to center, grounded to short, 0 for 2. Hitting back of Justin, Tim Federowicz. That's a sinker for a strike, 0-1. So this is not the De La Rosa that was 0-8 against the Dodgers. It's not even the De La Rosa that was 2-8. It's the De La Rosa who was 7-0 in the daylight last year. 1-1. Jorge was born in Monterrey. Lives in San Nicolas, Mexico. Ball 2. He played for Monterrey in the Mexican League. That was way back in 2000. Jorge first came up to the Brewers in 2004. From the Brewers to the Royals to the Rockies. Short hop, backhanded at short. Tulowitzki, we were talking about him last night. I think he has the 2nd best arm I've ever seen at shortstop. And, I mean, you could challenge and say it was a tie. Sean Dunston, who played shortstop for the Chicago Cubs, and Tulo. Boy, I'd love to see them in a throwing contest. Of course, when Tulo was pitching a little bit, he was clocked in the 90s as a pitcher. 2 down. Here's Tim Federowicz. De La Rosa has turned a sellout crowd at Dodger Stadium into a library. There's no sound except me blabbering away, but I've got to do it. 2-0. Carl Crawford comes out on deck. Six runs, 9 hits for the Rockies, 1 run, 4 hits for the Dodgers. Ball 3. De La Rosa has done very well. He has walked 1. That was Gonzalez in the 6th inning. Hit 1. That was Puig in the 3rd. Otherwise, he's just been throwing strikes. Not overpowering by any means. 3 strikeouts. And a walk with 2 out. Pitch count has a lot to do with it, I guess. He's up to 98. Carl Crawford coming up now to bat for Brandon Lee. Crawford being announced to the crowd, so he's officially in the game. Hitting .209, no home runs, 4 runs batted in. Crawford 0 for 2 as a pinch hitter. When the Rockies come up in the 8th, Justin Morneau, Nolan Arenado, Josh Rutledge, and Brian Wilson, who says he needs the work, obviously needs it. He'll be coming in. 1 ball, no strikes. Brian made 13 pitches last night. 2 days before that, he made 28 pitches. And a couple of days before that, he made 28 pitches. Big breaking ball for a strike. Crawford bailed out, and it got in there. The Phillies are leading the Diamondbacks 2-0 in the 9th inning. Despite striking out 12, Brandon McCarthy left trailing A.J. Burnett, who has a 5-hitter through 8. 2-0 Philadelphia. For the Rockies, they've only won 8 games. They're 7.5 games back. They've only won 2 and lost 12 at home, and they're going to welcome Colorado. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Little nubber down to get it. De La Rosa turns, fires, gets him easily. Dodgers tiptoe again, just a walk, nothing else. And at the end of 7, 6-1 Colorado.
Get the opportunity to interview coaches and players and call play-by.
He might call it a day. Gathering his stuff. He went a strong 7, goes out leading 6-1 if indeed he'll go out. Don't forget the road trip. bundle up just to listen to it. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday from Minnesota, 5 o'clock, and then the getaway game at 10 a.m., better known as the escape day, if the weather lives up to what they're saying. Then the sunshine of Miami. 3 games with the Marlins, and then who knows what when the Dodgers finish up the trip in Washington. But we do know when they come home, it'll be a shootout here. It'll be 4 with the Giants, and then 3 with Miami. De La Rosa made 103 pitches, so we think he's done. He did a great job. 13 ground balls. Now let's see about Brian Wilson. Nothing wrong with Brian's arm. He's throwing in the 90s, 93, 94. And that's probably whacked down the right field line and hits the chalk. So 1 pitch, and immediately it's converted into a double by Justin Morneau. So he doubled in the 6th. Now he doubles in the 8th. Double to left, double to right. And Nolan Arenado coming up. So that's 10 hits for the Rockies. First pitch. Fastball. Bam. Double to right. So the batter will be Arenado. Single to center, fly to left, single to left. Morneau at second base, and Arenado trying to pick him up. Strike. 0-1. Fastball, and I mean a major league pop fly. Who's it going to be? Gonzalez? No, Gordon. So Arenado pops it up. 1 down. Morneau holding at second, and the batter will be Rutledge. To repeat, Ryu was not Ryu today, and it's not an excuse. Far be it from that. It was a simple fact that Ryu is a .500 pitcher pitching on 4 days rest. He was 8-1 pitching on 5 days rest, and he pitched on 4 days rest today and just did not have it. It was pretty obvious in the first 2 innings. He made 46 pitches, 23 in each of the first 2, and could never get on the beam. But he was still very much in the game. It was only 3-1. Rockies leading. But in the 6th inning, Morneau double, single by Arenado, and Josh Rutledge hit a home run, and that chased Ryu and put the Dodgers in a really bad light. And they haven't recovered yet through 7. Now Wilson, who gave up the double, got Arenado, and he's behind 3-0 to Rutledge with Jordan Pacheco on deck. 3-0. Down the pipe. Wilson, of course, has been around a long time. Came up to the Giants in '06, so he's been through a lot, plus 2 Tommy John surgeries. A broken bat fly ball. Kemp coming and coming and coming and makes the catch. Then lands on the ground, loses the ball. Are they going to call that? Yep, it's not a catch. Matt did not get a jump on it either. And like so many outfielders playing in the daylight here, you're looking at that wedding cake, all the tears. The broken bat, the piece of it, might also have been a little bit of pretty much a distraction. But here he finally comes as hard as he can, and he can't make the catch. He will draw an error. So 3 errors today, and the Dodgers are right back on schedule. They've made 26 errors in 26 games. Right. 6 runs, 10 hits for the Rockies, 1 run, 4 hits, and 3 errors for the Dodgers. They gave the totals the other day. It was a Red Sox game, and the totals went to the Red Sox. It was the first time that they had that kind of a score. I forget how many games. 200,000. Yeah, 200,000 games. Wilson working on Pacheco. Ground ball to short. The feed. The turn. Easy double play on the catcher. In over 200,000 games, the Red Sox had 5 runs, 4 hits, and 5 errors. And at the end of 7.5, 6-1, Colorado. By Jorge De La Rosa, and he gives way now to Adam Ottavino, the boy from Brooklyn. Ottavino, 6'5", 230-pounder. He'll be 29 late in November. Bourne still lives in Brooklyn. Interesting, they tell me, he lives about 2-minute cab ride from where the Brooklyn Nets play basketball. That was the exact spot where Walter O'Malley wanted to build the new stadium with the geodesic dome. He had already talked to the architect, Buckminster Fuller, but didn't work. Robert Moses, the Department of Parks, would not allow it. Dodgers forced to leave New York and have been happily situated here in Los Angeles ever since. Dodgers left in 1957, though Ottavino, that was 10 years before he was born. And here's Gordon. 1-1. Gordon opened up the game in exciting style. Bunt for a base hit. Sacrificed to second, electrified the crowd by stealing third, and came home on a base hit by Gonzalez. And you know what? There has been no more electricity ever since. Little fly ball coming in for it is Blackman. 1 away. That'll bring up Yasiel Puig. The crowd. A few have left. It was a great day and a great crowd. Paid attendance, a sellout, the 4th of the year, 52,359. 5,2,359. The 4th sellout of the year. Big crowd, but bitterly disappointed. And with 1 out here in the 8th, here's Yasiel Puig. Down in the Dodger bullpen, Wilson had 1 inning, and Jamie Wright trying to get in one. Wright would be the 4th Dodger pitcher. Ryu, League, and Wilson preceding him to the mound. Strike. Puig showing some displeasure, now saying something, shaking his head, letting everybody know he doesn't agree with young Stu Sherwater making his big league debut. 0-1. And a strike. 0-2. Ron Luciano, he was an umpire for many years. Somebody asked him, what's the definition of an umpire? And Ron said, it's because you're there between 2 7-year-olds and 1 ice cream cone. How about that? That's his definition of an umpire. You're between 2 7-year-olds and there's only 1 ice cream cone. Oh, there goes Puig, 2 out. Ron Luciano, by the way, American League umpire for a good 21 years. Now make it 11 years. He got tired of the ice cream fights. Well, the Dodgers are still without a hit since Ryu singled in the 2nd inning. And ball 1. Giants, meanwhile, have just defeated the Indians 4-1. Brandon Hicks just hit a walk-off 3-run home run to beat the Indians. So the Rockies are going to stay a game and a half back, and the Dodgers are going to fall to a game and a half back. Backs off for a strike. Kemp is grounded out, struck out, flied out, committed an error. It has been bad day at Black Rock. 6-1, bottom of the 8th. One ball and 1 strike. Fastball missed, 2-1. Adam Ottavino, 6'5", 230. Went to Northeastern University. Number 1 pick by the St. Louis Cardinals. 2-2 the count to Matt Kemp. At Northeastern, probably the big moment for Ottavino. He faced Georgia Tech. Held them hitless for 6 innings, struck out 12, and that got everybody's attention. And that's lifted to right center on his horse. His Blackman diving try. It's off his glove. Kemp jogging into second base, and Blackman is still down. Wait a minute. Now Charlie stayed down, I think, out of frustration. At first we thought he might have hurt himself. Walt Weiss was up on the steps ready to run out on the field, but Charlie appears to be okay. So Kemp hits one inside out as it breaks down, slices it into right center. Great effort by Blackman, reaches, ticks it off the glove, and then hits hard and rolls over. Ball retrieved by Barnes to get it back in. Charlie's had a big day, might not have caught that, but he's had a single and a double. He's also been hit by a pitch, scored twice. So the Dodgers at 2 out off the glove double by Matt Kemp. Their first hit since the 2nd inning. Their 5th hit of the game. And here, Adrian Gonzalez. Singled in a run, hit into a double play, and walked. Fastball missed, ball 1. and ball 2. For Ottavino, he can get help when he calls home. His mom is not only a 4th grade school teacher, but she is also a sports psychologist. That ought to help after a bad day. 3-0. On deck, Juan Uribe. Basically, with Ottavino, 4-seam fastball, a 2-seamer that sinks, slider, curve, changeup. Nice, loose, easy delivery. Fastball, strike, 3-1. He tilts back, so you think he's going to pitch like Colementor of Arizona, who works directly over the top. But then he drops the arm angle. 3-1. Fastball, little roller, foul ball. So Adrian back to try it again. 3-2 the count. Back to second base goes Matt Kemp. Adrian had a little string. He had a home run in 3 straight games. He has singled, hit into a double play, and walked today. Cloud cover made it nice and convenient, very comfortable. 69 degrees. But that's the weather. 3-2. Foul back. So with a runner at second base and leading by 5, Colorado is still not going to overly commit. Josh Rutledge is a good 25 feet out into right field, but Tulowitzki is still on the shortstop side, and Arenado has not left the neighborhood at third. Final score, the Phillies beat the Diamondbacks 2-0. Papelbon saved it for A.J. Burnett. The Diamondbacks are now 2-13 at home. Whoa. Fouled away. If you're looking at the box scores tomorrow with a 2-13 record, you wonder what the attendance was over there. Still 3-2 to Adrian. Two out, Kemp at second. 6-1 Rockies, bottom of the 8th. And ball 4. So Gonzalez walks twice, winds up going 1 for 2, and Juan Uribe coming up. The paid attendance. Brian Hagan is able to pull it up from the trusty computer. The Phillies beat the Diamondbacks 2-0. They had 30,022 at Chase Field in Phoenix. 2 on, 2 out, and here is Uribe, and the crowd making a little noise for the first time. They really have not had a reason to make noise since the Dodgers had back-to-back hits with 2 out in the 2nd inning. And we're in the 8th. No balls, 1 strike. High bouncer off the glove to slow it down. They'll get a force play as Rutledge handles it. So at 6-5, he stuck that glove in the way, and that slowed everything down, and it goes 1 for 3. Dodgers get a hit, leave 2. And it's still 6-1 Colorado. You can follow every Dodger game with MLB.com at bat on your favorite mobile phone or tablet. You get live look-ins, instant replay, scores, stats, audio, free MLB TV game of the day, and so much more. You can download on the App Store or you can visit Dodgers.com today. Won't be too long before we see Colorado again. On June 6, 7, and 8, the Dodgers will go to Colorado. On June 16, 17, and 18, the Rockies will come here. Well, Ottavino will give way to Charlie Culberson, who'll be the pinch hitter, and Brian Wilson gives way to Jamie Wright, and we're in the 9th inning. Charlie Culberson appeared as a pinch hitter last night. Grounded out. Oh and 1. So Ottavino made 21 pitches, got out of a little jam. Charlie hitting for him. No balls, 1 strike. 1 ball, 1 strike now. Jamie Wright pitching for the Dodgers. Jim Wright is the pitching coach for Colorado. No relation. That's lifted to right field. Puig a late start. Plenty of room, plenty of time. 1 away. So Culberson, a fly ball to right field, 1 down. And Charlie Blackmon coming up.
Charlie Blackmon.
Blackmon single to center, hit by a pitch, double to center, fly to left. Charlie scored twice and comes up hitting .407. So when the 3 games are over, he will have given up, at least for the moment, 4 points from when he arrived at .411. Ball 1. Charlie first came up back in 2011 and 12 with the Rockies, but he went down to Tri-City in Colorado Springs. Last year he made the club and again went down to Colorado Springs, but it looks like he's really found himself now. Charlie, 5 home runs, 17 runs batted in. He'll be 28 July 1. High foul ball, I think, going down the line. A trio of dodges, but it's going to drop untouched. Two and 1. In the bullpen, the young fellow who made his major league debut last night, Chris Martin. He'll be coming in. He worked the 7th inning last evening. 6-1 Colorado, top of the 9th. In the bottom of the 9th, Dodgers to send up Van Slyke, Turner, and Fedorovich. Maybe we would see Ethier. We'll see. 2-2. Jamie Wright, big man, working on Blackmon. Jamie is 6'6", out of Oklahoma City. Jamie will be 40 years old the day before Christmas. Off speed, comebacker. Nice play by Jamie. 2 down. And that will bring up Brandon Barnes.
Brandon Barnes.
Barnes single to left, single to center. Reached on an error, has knocked in 2 and hitting .347 from Orange, California. To repeat, Dodgers do to send up Van Slyke, Turner, Fedorovich. Off-speed breaking ball for a strike. No balls, 1 strike. Oh, and 1. High fastball, no balls, and 2 strikes to Brandon Barnes. Jamie was originally signed by the Rockies. In fact, he was a #1 pick way back in 1993 out of Westmore High School in Oklahoma. Came up to the Rockies back in 1996. Off speed, slapped inside first and down the line. Over to get it is Puig. Barnes on his way to second and makes it. So Brandon just slapped one right over the bag for a double. That's his 3rd hit.
Batting next, number 5, Carlos Gonzalez.
So Carlos Gonzalez starving for a base hit. Flied to left twice, struck out twice. Like 1 for 13 in the series. So Carlos hitting .237, but he'll make a lot of noise before the year is over. You can just about bet. .28 years old from Maracaibo in Venezuela. Line drive at D. Gordon. So that'll do it for Carlos Gonzalez. No runs, a hit, a man left, and we are heading to the bottom of the 9th. 6-1 Colorado. Rosa, followed by Ottavino, and now Chris Martin, whom we saw last night when he made his major league debut. Last night in the 7th inning, he was greeted by a base hit by Adrian Gonzalez and then settled down, got out of the inning with a walk because he eventually had Justin Turner to ground into a double play. So now with 1 game under his belt, 1 inning, the gnarled veteran comes to the mound. He is 6'7" and only 175 pounds. So he is a long drink of water. He'll be 28 in June, from Arlington, Texas. He was originally selected by Detroit, and then in June he was drafted by Colorado. So Chris ready to pitch to Scott Van Slyke to start it off. Fastball, strike, 0-1. So Van Slyke followed by Justin Turner, and then we'll see. Fastball misses. Don't forget, Dodgers will be in Minnesota on Tuesday. Sportsnet LA at 5:10. Again, the same time Wednesday. Foul ball. Thursday, be on Sportsnet LA at 10:10. Then on to Miami. 2 games at 4:10 and a Sunday morning game at 10:10. Then 2 games at 4:05 in Washington. We're talking about time here. And a 10:05 game in Washington. That's going to be a base hit. Van Slyke will hold. So a leadoff single by Scott Van Slyke. He goes 1 for 4. If you were with us, you remember in the second inning, he was robbed of what would have been a double, I'm sure, on that diving save by Nolan Arenado. So here's Justin Turner playing shortstop today. Hanley Ramirez with the bruised thumb by being rested coming out last night. Not playing today, tomorrow an open day, and maybe they play Tuesday night, so Hanley will have gotten a good rest. Turner, meanwhile, is 0 for 3. Fly ball and a couple of ground balls. Fouled away upstairs off to the right. 0-1. Paid attendance today, 52,359. Meanwhile, Hanley putting on a batting glove, so I guess he feels chipper enough to pinch hit. Fouled away again. I'll tell you one thing, if it's very cold, if it is as cold as they say in Minnesota, the pitchers will love to pitch. The hitters will not like to hit. You talk about Ramirez being clanked last night where he hurt his thumb because he didn't hit the ball properly. You get jammed or hit it off the end of the bat in cold weather. It is really another story. 0-2. Got him. So Turner gets a fastball, comes up empty, goes 0 for 4, and we have 1 down. Tim Fedorovich is going to be called back. And Andre Ethier is going to come up and bat. So Ethier hitting for Fedorovich. We'll see if Hanley Ramirez comes out on deck or not. Six runs, 11 hits for the Rockies. Hanley kind of walking around with the bat. Andre Ethier comes up hitting .214. Hanley looking for the right hat size. That's on the corner for a strike. First time the players actually wore the helmet that you're looking at today. Back in 1952, the Pittsburgh Pirates. The head man, formerly the head man in Brooklyn, Branch Rickey. And they wore the helmet all the time. Foul back. So Andre in a hole, 0-2. Well, there's Hanley getting ready and coming out on deck. 1 out, bottom of the ninth, 6-1, Colorado. Dodgers haven't really done anything since the second inning, and we're now in the ninth. And see you later. So Ethier caught looking, down he goes. And now Hanley Ramirez, just to get the feel of things, will come up. Crowd waiting for the announcement as he slowly makes his way up to the plate. Dodgers have 6 hits, but they've committed 3 errors. Of course, the big blow, a 3-run home run by Josh Rutledge in the 6th inning. It was still a game then. It was only 3-1 Rockies. In fact, the Dodgers began the game by scoring in the 1st inning. Little roller. Tough play. Arenado, bare hand pickup, throws, this time too late. Arenado did everything he could possibly ask for, and Ramirez legs it out. So base hit, 2 on, 2 out, and the batter will be D. Gordon. Whether it hurt or not, the fact that it's a base hit would take any sting away. And wait a minute. Walt Weiss is out there talking to first base umpire Larry Vanover, who's the crew chief. All right, Walt has had his say, heading back to the dugout. No argument. Arenado, a picture play, bare hand, off balance, but there you have it, foot on the bag. The ball appears to have disappeared. Someone once came up with the theory on a bang-bang play, a so-called tie, that goes to the runner. And, of course, there's no such thing. The rule says the runner must beat the throw. That's going to be slapped into left field, base hit. They will hold Van Slyke. So the bases are loaded with 2 out. And the batter of all people, Yasiel Puig. And for Gordon, 2 more hits today to go 2 for 5. So Chris Martin in a little trouble here, but he has 2 down, bases loaded, and Puig coming up is still not the potential tying run, but hitting right behind him is Matt Kemp. So Jim Wright, the pitching coach, going out to talk to Martin. Long time coming, but those who are here finally have a chance to make a little noise. Down in the bullpen, the hard-throwing left-hander Rex Brothers begins to loosen up. He had Van Slyke single to center. Turner and Ethier struck out. Then the squib singled by Ramirez, and the line drive single to left by Gordon to load him up. And Martin, in a moment, will be facing Yasiel Puig. And for the crowd here, you got to believe this is the sweetest moment that they've had. Yasiel Puig has 1 grand slam. He hit it against Atlanta last year. Van Slyke at third. Ramirez at second. Big bouncer. And wouldn't you know, it's Arenado who makes the last out on the chopper. So the Dodgers wind up 3 hits, no runs, and down they go. The Rockies win 2 out of 3. The Dodgers fall to a game and a half behind the Giants in a second-place tie with Colorado, and they'll leave tomorrow on their way to Minnesota. The play of the game, 1 swing of the bat, I think, by Josh Rutledge with Morneau and Arenado aboard. That was in the 6th inning, and that broke the game wide open. The Dodgers unable to recover, down 6-1, and that pretty much told the story. So, until Tuesday, when the Dodgers play in Minnesota, we wish you all a very pleasant good afternoon.